This is Dr. Bill Parker, and you're listening to the RHS Magnet Spotlight podcast.
So
Cool.
I'm going to try to get as much as I can out of it.
Well, I just got done telling Chef Dev that you're not allowed to touch the mics because you got Popeyes on your fingers.
I haven't
But he
eaten
didn't.
yet.
Yeah.
You didn't get to
That's
eat.
what I came in saying. Like,
then
it's one of those days where I bought lunch and it sat there cold, and every time I go to eat it, I get pulled away from something else.
All right,
so
well,
it's
there we go.
still sitting in there. So my hands are clean.
All right, good. And your conscience can be clean because
I haven't.
you don't have
destroyed your
Popeye's
mics.
breath in here. All right, is everybody ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how we start this thing.
Exactly like that. That clip is going at the top.
Nice cold open.
That is your cold
All
open.
right. Welcome back, everybody. We are here for episode 2, season 2 of the RHS Magnet Spotlight.
That's right.
I'm Dr. Bill Parker, and I'm here with
Eric Archilla. Thank you for being here.
here to talk to you about all things magnet, kind of keep you up to date with what's happening at Richardson High School and in our magnet programs.
And we are joined today with a very special guest from our, is it culinary or culinary? Because I've heard both.
I think Cole just kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit easier. Culinary.
Thank you. From the culinary magnet, Chef Dev.
Woo.
Going
Chef
formally
Dev.
by your full name.
That's right.
Do you want to
Yeah.
introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Devin Niederhauser. You can tell why you go by Chef Dev. I've been running the magnet here this is my second year. Last year was kind of a slow-going one, just kind of seeing where the program was and what it's been doing, and finding our vision and our path. Now this year is just kind of jet set ready. Let's get going and get to where we need to be.
Well, it's kind of funny going back, and I know you've probably never heard this, but when I first saw his resume and first started getting ready to interview him, I'd never met anybody with the name Niederhauser. So the only thing that came to my mind was Niedermeyer. And I'm just, Animal House. I'm like,
Yep.
You're all worthless and weak. Now drop and give me 20.
I'm like, this guy's name's Niedermeyer. No, it's not Niedermeyer. What is it? So it's just kind of funny. But
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you that we had this opening, and I'm just going to tell everybody out there, we couldn't be happier with how things have turned out. I saw this resume, and I thought, I got to interview this kid. And he was in North Carolina, and I called him. We did a Zoom back in the Zoom days, and he was still working out there. I said, man, North Carolina, what are you doing coming? Like, why do you want to come here? Why are you interested in this? And he just started talking about his passion for food and his passion for cooking and his passion for teaching. And as luck would have it, I think his family had a need. They were from East Texas.
Central
Texas, and had a need to move back home. And the move was going to happen. It was just a matter of needing and so we actually hired him, gave him enough time to get moved, whatever. I don't think he started until October 1st or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're really glad to have him, Chef Devin. We're real happy with how things are going in the kitchen, for
Cool.
sure.
Yeah. I've been really enjoying it, man.
So tell us a little bit about where you learned to cook, where you learned to teach. What's your background?
Man, how far do you want me to go back?
You were born on. No.
Yeah, it takes a lot. I mean, it takes a lot for
It was a Thursday.
a food passion to happen, I think. I always refer to the kids in the Magnet as like my merry little band of misfits, just because in my experience, kitchens have always just been a really great landing spot for anybody, everybody types. And for me, had a bit of a rough childhood, not the best upbringing, and throughout most of my life, there was a lot of not knowing where to fit in or who to be. And the one place I was most comfortable was my grandparents' house. And my grandma was about 4'8" little Italian lady. And we would make handmade pastas. We would make, even when we were like really little, we'd just make popcorn from, seeds and Crisco. And so I cooked a lot with her growing up. And then out of high school, I lived with them for about a year. and it was like a religion. Once a week, I was going to cook with my nan, and she's an old special ed teacher, and so she'd make a chart for the fridge, and we'd have we'd rate every meal that we made and everything. It was like I was a kid again. But I really found a passion with it there. I knew I loved it. And at the time I was dating this girl, and she told me, well, I'm not going to marry you unless you have a college degree. Because at the time I was doing music. I was finding my passion in music and just playing gigs around town. And she's like, well, if you don't have a college degree, I can't marry you. I said, okay, well, I started school for a business degree. Got about 2 years deep. That relationship ended, and it made me realize, well, that's probably not the girl I want to be with anyway. And I probably don't want to be my dad. He's a businessman. And so I dropped out and took about 6 months, and I realized, I'm just going to go do culinary school. I could pay for that out of pocket. I was living on my own, working nonstop. And, it was an affordable opportunity for me. We had a culinary school up north of Waco, about 20 minutes. Did a full 5-semester associate's degree there. While I was there, I worked for a catering company in town, so we did a lot of big wedding stuff. And while I was working at the catering company, Rio Brazos Cuisine, shout out, she decided she wanted to open a food truck, but she didn't know the first thing about cooking to order. So she had me and one of my friends in the company basically just gave us free reign and said, design it. So we got to build our truck from scratch, shop for an old Frito-Lay truck, pick the equipment we wanted in there, get the wrap designed, build the menu, the whole 9 yards. We did everything except for pay for it. And the beauty of that is trial and error. You get a lot of learning experience out of the business side without having any of the risk of losing your entire home and life, right? So did that for about a year until I graduated, and through the food truck met the owner of a pub downtown that would do fine dining on the weekends. So he offered me to come in as a sous chef. And so I took that upon graduating, did that for about a year with him, and then decided to go back to where I was familiar with and I could get more stability with, which was Outback Steakhouse in Waco, Texas. And came back with the pursuit of being a manager so I could get health insurance. At this time, I'm 25, 26, starting to think about starting to get
Adulting.
these things rolling.
You're
100%.
adulting now. You got to make big boy decisions.
I need to grow up.
Yes.
And so got back into Outback. Within that first year, I started managing with them. Waco's a real small market, and I just had bigger dreams. And so I got engaged, and we were like, hey, let's just move somewhere we don't know anybody. Yeah. And pointed at a map and ended up in Raleigh, North Carolina. And luckily, with Outback, that's one of their biggest markets. And so they do a lot of their field research and studies and stuff like that with their recipes and just marketing in general. So I got to join them in Raleigh, and we did a lot of test menu stuff, and we'd report back our results and, what we thought of this recipe, what we would change, how we would execute differently, how we would plate differently, which was great for me because that's a lot of what I learned in school and did on the truck and in the fine dining. And so once I got married, I realized, man, it'd be really cool to see my wife sometimes. Because when you're in the kitchen, I was off Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and she was working, an X-ray job, and Monday through Friday. So I was like, I just want to see her sometimes. And so we decided, we need to think about making a move. It was probably me that needed to make the move, just because it's not sustainable to be in that restaurant like that.
Yeah.
So I just kind of sat with myself and said, what do I really enjoy about my job? Cooking, sure, but you can't just go anywhere and have a different life. But I really enjoyed training new people and teaching them, the corporate structure is, here's how you cook this because it's how you do it. Well, I'm more of a type of person that's, here's how you cook this and here's how it cooks.
Right.
And kind of the science behind it. And so I enjoyed teaching that to people, and I think it helped our staff quite a bit. Just people think about things differently, they learn things differently, and if you can just change your point of view on teaching it, come from a different standpoint, a different place, then I think you can really break through to a lot more people that way. So anyways, we found this job on Indeed. One of those nights where you're upset with your job and you're just going through your phone on Indeed of totally. I can't wait. And yeah, we ended up finding it, and went through with it, and bingo bango, here we are.
Sure, and that's great. And we'd never used Indeed, and so I was talking to I think Sharkey and Creighton. I was like, man, we're just I'm not getting the right kind of applicants here, and they said, well, we can put it on Indeed if you want, and so they were really great. They put 2 or 3, 4 jobs that we had to fill on Indeed. And it really did. It gave us a deeper pool, and I'm glad we did because man, you're killing it up here.
I appreciate
you really
that.
Are. You are. So we've talked
Real
about.
quick,
Go ahead.
Before we go on, I should have said this at the top. Don't feel like you have to turn to me because every time you do,
it changes the volume.
drops out.
Totally.
So
Fair
just
enough.
keep contact with Parker.
All right, Parker, my best friend today.
Right,
your best
just lock
friends.
eyes with me.
Fall in love
I know
again.
you run a flow, and I don't want to stop you. But
Right.
Got it.
Totally. So I mean, you're killing it, and I think you've done a really great job talking about how you got here and what's going on. But I think what a lot of people want to know is, what do you like to do when you're not teaching culinary and you're not cooking? What do you like? What's something that
Oh man,
people need to know about you?
Grew up a nerd, just absolute nerd. I love, Lord of the Rings. Got a tattoo from it. Dungeons and Dragons, video games in general is a big hobby in my off time.
I was gonna say, I've heard you're quite the gamer.
Yes, yeah. So I help with esports here too, which is really cool that I get to do video games and it be part of my job still. Be involved. Other than that, complete opposite side of the spectrum. I have a real passion for the outdoors. I love playing disc golf in near the city, and then when I have the time, I've got a tent on top of my truck that I can just go out, find a spot, and camp. Camping is a real big passion of mine. I grew up in Boy Scouts, and that was one of the only places, like I said, rough childhood, one of the only places I had stability and structure.
That's an escape.
Yeah,
It really is.
100%. And so just being out somewhere away is kind of nice to just reset and just be calm and nothing else bother you for a while.
Kind of funny you talk about having the tent on top of your truck. I remember Mr. Mester, who runs our automotive program here, he and I for many years, and then COVID kind of threw a wrench in it. We would go out to Vegas and take students to Las Vegas every fall for the SEMA show. And I remember when that became a thing. We're sitting there and we're looking around and walking around. All of a sudden, I'm like, what's up with all the trucks with the tents on the roof? Just like it just suddenly started.
Yeah, overlanding.
And it started, started in the mountains, started in Colorado and California and Arizona, long before we saw it in Texas. So it was like, I saw it at SEMA, and I thought, what's up with all this? And then about 12 months, 18 months later, you start seeing it around here.
Oh, yeah.
But it was very cool when I saw it. I thought, man, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I first saw it in North Carolina and moved here, and there's not a lot of it in DFW. I've heard DFW is number 1 or number 2 on the list of worst places if you love camping, just because you have to drive far to get anywhere.
Yeah, there's not much around.
Yeah.
But
Cedar
Hill, I think, is the only geographic location close that
It
there's
is.
anything.
Yeah.
But it is top 5 if you're into traffic.
Yeah, hey, still got that on the list.
Yeah, that's it.
That's right, baby. Coming for number 1.
Going back to, I know we were steering to personal hobbies, but I'm curious, as a chef, what is your favorite type of food to cook?
I always had a passion for seafood. I grew up in Houston. We moved to Houston when I was 4 years old and didn't move to Central Texas until I was a sophomore in high school, so 14. And I just always grew up eating shrimp and blue crab. Soft shell crab is to this day like one of my hands down favorite foods to eat. And so I really, really enjoy cooking fish and shellfish. And then when I went to culinary school, I mean, the beauty of it is there's so many different ways to prepare seafood. And there's so many different flavors that are just seafood. You look at the difference between like lobster and crab and shrimp, they all have similarities, but at the same time, all very different intensities of flavor and all very different flavors in general.
And is there a certain food that you detest?
Oh, there's a lot. Raw celery, I think, came straight from Satan. I can't stand, like, even smelling raw celery. It's not even like it grosses me out. It just, like, makes me mad. The texture of it is terrible. It's crunchy, but also stringy. Yeah, I just hate raw celery, but I love cooked celery. Like, you put it in anything. It's great. But just eating it raw with, like, peanut butter like a snack.
The strings are the worst.
All right, so
Not
let's
for me.
qualify this. Let's say I'm making chicken salad.
Yeah.
You good with crunchy raw celery and chicken salad, or does it literally have to be like soft?
I can do it in chicken salad if it's not overdone, and it has to be sliced very thin.
Gotcha.
I like a thin slice. I like because it adds the crunch,
Right.
which is important. But there can't be so much that you like it. The flavor can be very overbearing.
True.
So yeah, raw celery is on that list. Kids always get so surprised when they mention a food, and I'm just like, no, that food sucks. And they're like,
Yeah.
you can't say that. You're a chef. And I was like, I can say that.
Well, it's funny because, I think so many of our kids, I think we live in a time where a lot of kids eat a lot of processed food.
Yes.
And you know what? Shout out. A lot of adults eat processed food.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just live in that time. It's a convenience thing, But I remember probably 10 years ago, I was working as an instructional coach at one of the junior highs here in town. Very low socioeconomics. Very, very diverse population. I think we had like 29 native languages spoken in that school with 600 kids, So, I mean, it was crazy. And one day I'm walking through the cafeteria and there's broccoli. Broccoli's on the trays. And I'm like, oh, they don't know these kids very well. They're giving these kids broccoli. And I walk around and these kids are like, hey, man, you want to eat all that broccoli? And like they were fighting each other for the broccoli. And I thought that is so cool that like our students are getting something fresh, not processed, and they're totally into it.
Yeah.
It was such a great thing to see, and it really changed a lot of what I thought about kids and what they will eat.
Yes.
If they're not jaded toward it.
If they are willing to try it, you can really change a life. And that's
totally.
the thing. And a lot of it in my class is I have to force them into it. There's a rule that we use, and it's if you cook it and you plan on serving it, you have to eat it. So you have
Great
to try
rule.
it before you serve it. That's a thing. And we're in a lower economic environment. We have God knows how many cultures within this school.
Sure.
And when we do steaks, I'm amazed at how many kids refuse to eat anything below medium well.
Yeah.
And the first steak they have to cook is medium. It's just, to me, it's the hardest one to hit.
It
And
is.
so we'll learn on that. And they have to taste it. And we make sure that we season it right and this and that and this and that. And so many of them will be like so grossed out. And then they take that first bite and they chew it. And I'm like, just close your eyes and don't think about what it is. Just think about what you're experiencing just within your mouth. And it's life-changing for them.
It is.
One of my seniors this year, she was a junior last year and learned it. And she had only eaten well done her entire life. She had medium rare. And she was just like, I don't understand why my parents raised me the way they did. It's just so much better.
My wife always ate hers as like charcoaled.
That's what my
So
dad
once I
does.
got her to eat medium, she was in. So, yeah.
So just for curiosity's sake, when you're teaching them how to cook a medium, do you teach them to cook to firmness, or do you use temp?
I teach firmness.
Okay.
In a real life environment, you're not going to have time to temp every steak with
Correct,
a probe thermometer. Not only that, but what you often don't realize is when you use a thermometer on something, you're punching a hole in it.
Absolutely.
And nobody wants to slice into a steak and there be a perfectly cylindrical hole in it, because that makes you think, was there a worm in here or something like that? That's just what, for me, that's what my brain goes to. When I
Sure,
see a
yeah.
small hole, there's a bug. So, yeah, we go by firmness. We teach them the whole fingers on thumb trick with the firmness of your palm. But the main thing we teach them is the sear is what's most important. And then if it needs to finish in an oven, then you can do that after. But you want to get your presentation out of the way first.
Since you have a very refined palate, I mean, like you know food, you've spent a lot of time around food. What would you say is the best meal you've ever had at a restaurant?
My favorite, I don't know about the best meal I've ever had. I have a lot of weird biases. And, when it comes to refined, I've eaten some like really high-end stuff. But what I always fall back to is what I grew up on. And yes, I love seafood. Every year for my birthday, I go back down to Waco. There's a place called Tajun, Tejun. Big shout out to them. And it's just like a crab boil type spot. It's crab legs and shrimp, potatoes and corn. And they make a cocktail sauce and a butter sauce in-house that are just out of this world. And it used to be a food truck before they got a brick and mortar. And once a month, it was like my treat, because they'd only be in town once a month. And it was like I'd go spend $40 and just pig out on some crab legs. Other than that, man, like you'd be surprised that, and I tell my kids this, my favorite restaurant is Taco Bell. It is cheap, it is consistent, and it tastes good.
Hey. I love Taco Bell. My wife, she's Latina, and she makes fun of me and gives me a hard time about eating Taco Bell, but I think it is fantastic.
It's wonderful.
The cheesy gordita crunch is like the best thing
The king.
ever.
It's the king of the menu.
So I saw an ad the other day. I think for a limited time, the double-decker taco is back. And my wife, that's her favorite. She loves the double-decker taco. So we're going to have to, hey, honey, date night to Taco Bell coming up.
Yeah.
I went to school at Baylor, so
Yeah.
So in Waco, I remember my favorite place to go was VTEX.
VTEX barbecue,
barbecue. This is the big old
the gut pack.
The gut pack.
Yeah. It was like a barbecue Frito pie.
It was just
ugly
and gross and awesome.
Now, did you ever go when you were at Baylor? Taco Z on La Salle, Taco Zacatecas?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they do just like street style tacos with a drive-through though. Right. And so it'd be like 2:30, 3 a.m., but you could go through there and get barbacoa and lingua and al pastor, whatever you like. Plus they had the elote, the corn in the cup, and theirs was like the spot for the Baylor kids.
Nice.
Yeah,
very good, very good. All right, so talking about our culinary magnet, we're heading into the season. We call it the silly season. We've got all the events coming up, a lot of paperwork, a lot of interviews, all the different steps we go through when we have students that want to be in the magnet, rising ninth graders. So my question is, I guess for the folks that are listening, what's your ultimate goal? What is your goal and purpose in the magnet? What's your main objective for the students to come in? Why should they spend 4 years with you?
So that was something that I think I struggled with that whole first year, was finding that direction. Like, which way do we set course? Knowing myself, I am innately and naturally very competitive. So right now, what I'm trying to do is get us to an elevated level of execution and production, where it's not, hey, we can make a really good chicken salad or we can make some really good tacos. I want to get more into fine dining type stuff, because that's where I think the kids are going to learn more of the intricate methods within French cooking. Because I do think that's forgotten a lot as well, is that culinary arts is French cooking.
Correct.
And so we're trying to get more into that. I'm trying to really lean into the French cooking. I'm not sure if it's been said on your podcast that Pierce down the street just got a brand new state-of-the-art everything kitchen. And they have more kids, they have more teachers, right now they have more resources in general. Sure. I refuse, even at the biggest disadvantage, I refuse to be worse than them.
Right.
So that's where my competitive nature is kicking in right now, is I still have their teachers calling me saying hey, so when you do caterings, what does it look like?
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, can we please trade? Let's just trade kitchens for a week.
Right. Tastes like money, baby.
Yeah, 100%. And so, weird little things, and the kids know that I can get really petty about it. But we'll get weird little things from CTE of hey, we're going to order 4 dozen cookies from you and 4 dozen from Pierce. And so when I deliver the cookies, as it happened last year, I'm like, hey, what did Pierce get? What did they make? Well, they made some 4 dozen chocolate chip cookies. Awesome. Well, I made 2 dozen creme brulee sugar cookies, and I made 2 dozen orange cinnamon wheel cookies. We just that, and a little bit extra level.
Nice.
Just to show them hey, yeah, our equipment's from the 90s. And half the time it doesn't work, and I'm down there with screwdrivers and wrenches trying to get, the gas to flow. But that's what real kitchen life is like.
Sure.
It's when you have the passion, you have to learn how to do everything to exist. So I think where our ending point is I want to get to the point where my juniors down are the ones that are the ones actually learning. My seniors, they're in practicum. So the first month they'll be in-house doing resumes. We'll do mock interviews and stuff like that, fill out their applications. I want them to get into the real world. Now, right now, a lot of them are in fast food, stuff like that. Nothing wrong with that. But we're building relationships with local businesses that are a little bit more niche, a little bit more upscale. Niche. I went to culinary school, not real college.
Culinary.
He puts the cool in
That's
culinary.
right. So I got like one kid right now that's working at this custom butcher shop just down the road, and they specialize in sausage making. So like just weird little things like that,
That's all right. Let's give him a shout out.
yeah, Deep Cuts Butcher Shop.
I think they were Butcher of the Year last year, D Magazine Butcher of the Year.
It might be right. I go in there like once a week right now. They make like their specialty is their sausages, which is like to me kind of an old world art form.
Yeah.
And I usually try to go in there once a week and buy one I haven't tried yet. I was just talking to Dr. Parker before we started this. They make one. It's pork sausage with beef franks cut up inside and Kraft macaroni and cheese.
That sounds incredible.
It is an entire meal within a casing. It's called the Glizzeroni and cheese. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're in the area and you can find it, buy as much of it as you can because they only make it every couple weeks. But a huge fan. I've talked to the owner there. He's going to come by late January, early February when juniors are working in pork. And I'm going to book him for the whole day so we can just do like a field trip in-house and just do a sausage making day.
They do a lot of really good heritage pork over there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, their custom order stuff is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enough about deep cuts.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm very passionate.
All right. So ninth graders. Mm-hmm. We've got a group of kids that are going to interview, apply. They want to be in the Magnet. What can they expect as ninth graders?
What they can expect is kind of a boring year.
Hey, that's going to make them want to sign up.
I know. I always try to be very upfront and honest about it. Those that want to learn how to cook will have more fun than those that are just here to eat snacks. That's kind of the idea behind the way I have arranged the education per year, like what they learn each year.
Sure.
Is I really want to separate the kids that are just here because it sounds like a fun class and they want to eat snacks every day. I want kids that want to actually learn and they want to be good at cooking. So we start out with like history of culinary, a lot of book stuff. It's really not super fun. You have to go through sanitation and safety. You have to get your food handler's license so that way you can work with food. Once we do that,
Which is important.
it is super important. It is the base.
It is
right?
the most important thing.
It is the base. After that, January we're going to start classic knife cuts. So then they'll actually be able to get hands-on after that whole horrible 4 or 5 months of just sitting with books and slideshows and listening to me talk all the time.
So when you're marketing, you just need to be like, hey, freshman, you get to come play with knives freshman year.
Yeah, I just need to learn how to like juggle knives
the way to market
as
it.
my opener. But they're gonna do knife cuts, and then we'll do. I'm sorry if you're in 8th grade and you're listening to this, we have to do math for a little while. Culinary math.
Get to do math.
You get to do math, measurements, equivalents, and conversions. Super simple. Sounds way more complicated than it is. And then after that, we're in it, and we start with stocks and soups and sauces, and then we'll move into salads, and then we'll move into sandwiches, and then you'll start sophomore year with breakfast cookery. So eggs, lots of eggs. So that's kind of freshman year in a nutshell.
Sweet.
When they leave here, what are you hoping that the students are able to do?
Cool. So the whole idea behind what I've modeled this program after is essentially I'm trying to replicate my associate's degree program that I took and do that in 3 to 4 years, right? So I model all of my lessons around kind of the way it was taught to me back then. That way, I was a kid that I took a year off after high school because I wanted to be a rock star, and college isn't for everybody, and I get that because I'm one of those. I struggled, and even in culinary school, if there's homework, I was dead. Not everybody's built for that. And if you want to be serious about cooking and you want to work and you want to be good, you have that drive. I've tried to model this so that you can get into the workforce at 18 and have a leg up on the people that did decide to go to culinary school, because you've already learned what they're learning at 18. You've already got it down. That's the whole idea of the program. That's the I guess the end goal we were talking about earlier is I want every one of my students to just have that leg up and just be able to get going. At the very least, if they don't want to be a chef, they can go to college, they can be really broke for a few years, and they can still learn how to cook a meal for themselves, like with whatever they have on hand. So,
and it definitely helps with getting a significant other.
That's
oh
right.
God, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So, talk a little bit about, because what's one of the great things about our magnets at the school, just across the board, is the opportunity to apply what we're doing on campus or in the community. And so I know you do a lot of things on campus. I've eaten a lot of food at a lot of different events that you guys have had. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that you do around campus.
Cool. So when we have the opportunity to, we do our grab and go. It changes locations a little bit right now. We're still waiting on maybe a couple pieces of equipment to make it make more sense to do kind of up at the front office, centrally located for the school. When we're doing hot food, it just makes more sense for us to do it just kind of close to the classroom, so we're not walking hot food down 3 hallways and it getting cold. So we do that. We sell food quite often, or as often as we possibly can. Last week was what I call cookie-geddon.
Which was incredible.
Oh, I know. Everybody loves it but me. We made, between Monday and Tuesday, we made just under 1,800 cookies. 19 different varieties because only one didn't turn out. So it would have been 20. But everybody had to make 7 to 8 dozen cookies in groups. And then Saturday, this year we just partnered with Ace Hardware around the corner. Shout out to another business. JJ over there is the owner. Super cool guy. He got with us last year. About 5-6 times a year, we do a parking lot event with them on a Saturday. And we go out there, we cook food on smoker or grill, and we hand out samples just to customers coming in or out of the store. It's a great opportunity for us to get our name out there a little bit more in the community. I love catering within the school, but if I get outside of the school, I can start charging more appropriately, and we can actually start doing better business. And, we make more connections for ourselves and other programs in the school. So we do that, Cookie Week. We do Ace Hardware, Grab and Goes. This upcoming Monday, we're catering the PTA meeting here within the school. We used to do Richardson reads one book every year. This year, because Pierce got the kitchen, they're going to be alternating schools every other year now. So they did Pierce this year. They'll do us again next year. All kinds. We have multicultural night coming up in January. I've got 3 different student groups from different traditional households that are going to be cooking some one bite type foods from their own culture, and it's great for me because I don't have to plan it. I can just be like, give me a grocery list and I'll buy it, right. And you guys go with it, But yeah, trying to get outside of the doors is kind of our focus now. We want to get more community involvement. All the leftover cookies we had from Cookie-geddon, I took to the police department. And it's like, hey, man, it's Christmas time. I know y'all are probably crazy right now. Everybody's stealing stuff this time of year. So we just left a bunch of cookies in their break room just so like the police officers, when they're on break or coming in and out of a shift, can grab something,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I bet Pierce didn't do that.
God, no.
Something you said just sparked a question. Have any of your students taught you how to cook something that you didn't know of that was a really tasty dish?
They haven't. There's not a lot of opportunity for them to teach me how to cook something, just because I try to keep our inventory really under control, just because we have weekends, right? Sure. So I can't cycle inventory because we're not cooking the same thing every week. We're not here 2 days out of the week, and so we have to watch for spoilage. And that's one of the things I take pride in is the way I move the money. Is I can find things that are cheap, and I know how to spruce them up and make them nice. So we end up saving a lot of money that way. Now, a lot of times, I'm not going to lie, I have influenced a child by saying like, oh, I bet your mom's biryani isn't as good as so-and-so's mom's. And so then I get 2 orders of biryani that next week. So, yeah, sometimes kids will bring food from home. I've got one right now who, luckily, her mom loves me, and so I get some jollof rice every now and then. But that's also the really cool thing about the culinary program here is again, so multicultural that I have a lot of kids that come from different traditional households that eat nothing but, West African food, Indian food. I've got a student whose family does like traditional Jewish food, and like it's just such a melting pot within one kitchen. This week we did a challah bread. It was like the last, days of Hanukkah. Wanted to show some representation there. And it was like the whole boring, they hated it so much. But it was like, hey, there's a metaphor of like we're going to break into groups and make some bread dough. And then all of us are going to come together and we're going to braid the dough together. And it's all going to make one beautiful loaf of bread,
I saw a picture of that too. That was incredible.
Yeah, it turned out really good this year.
Looked really great.
Yeah.
Looked really great.
Way better than last year's.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, we're starting to run a little bit short of time. We've talked a lot of great stuff, but we're going to do a segment that Eric and I always do: 5 questions with Dr. P.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question. You just give me the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
And then I will probably ask Eric because I love to always see what he says too.
See how they contradict each
So
other.
here we go. First question. And it's called 5 questions, but I might have 6 or 7. We'll just see. All right, so somebody gives you an elephant. You can't sell it. You can't give it away. What do you do with that elephant?
I'm keeping that elephant. That sounds like
no joke. You can't sell it. You can't.
No, yeah, that's
like what are you going to do with it?
I'm gonna first I'm gonna have to move and get a bigger backyard.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna be the coolest guy in the neighborhood, and I'm gonna have an elephant in my backyard. I'm gonna train it. I'll feed it. We'll get one of those crazy elephant saddles, and I'll take the dog on a walk on an elephant.
Nice. Good answer.
Yeah, I'm selling kid rides on the elephant to try to make it a side business because that would be pretty awesome.
Awesome.
And
All
making
right.
them my best friend that travels everywhere with me.
All right. Very good. Next question. Your opinion on garden gnomes, yes or no?
No.
No?
I grew up in the era of Goosebumps.
Yeah?
And anything that is inanimate but has eyes and a mouth, it's not for me.
Okay.
Interesting.
Where you sit on garden gnomes, Mr. Archilla?
I'm just not really into the lawn or garden decorative items in general. Especially like the suns and stuff like that always freak me out.
Right.
Anything that's clay, I'm like, eh.
All right. Well, I'm gonna scrap the pink flamingo question then too.
I did have a zombie pink flamingo that we would put out at Halloween, but that was about it.
Nice. All right. Next question. This is the easiest question on the list for me, but I'm not playing. If you could choose one song to play every time you walked into a room, what would that song be?
That's tough, though. Man, I've thought of everything from like what my funeral song would be to what my walk-up song would be. I'm going to use my walk-out song, and that is, it's a little controversial. It's Kanye West, Can't Tell Me Nothing.
Got it. I was afraid you were going to say Gold Digger.
No, God, no.
Okay. Next,
The
Mr.
Nintendo
Archilla.
music from the Wii.
Nice.
Very calming.
That's mine.
All right. If you had a time machine, would you travel to the future or would you travel to the past?
Oh, the past. The past. Probably for cynical reasons, but also just like educational reasons. Like I love history. I'd go way further than that and do like the Marty McFly and just be like a millionaire one day,
There you go.
I'd invest in Apple in like 96.
Right. Totally. Mr. Archilla?
See, I'm too worried about changing things and like the guilt of like, oh man, I caused a family member to not be here anymore. So I would definitely go to the future. I would do the Back to the Future thing in Back to the Future 2. I'd go to the future and get an almanac. And then bring it back and
There you go.
use that to make some bets.
All right. Last couple questions. What would you do if you were told that you had to work? You have to have a job, but you don't need the money. What would you do?
I'd either be like a golf course marshal, because then you're just riding around in a golf cart all day and like watching people have fun. A park ranger, I think, would be really cool, just because that's one of my passions. Like I've thought those dark days at work, I've thought about, I'm just gonna go join the park service,
Yeah.
So I think park ranger would be number one.
Guard all those picnic baskets.
Yeah.
Mr. Archilla?
I don't know. I think I'd probably be if I didn't have to worry about the money and I could just do what I wanted, I would probably be a writer. I'd love to just like find a peaceful place to go just write and crank out some TV scripts and get some stuff produced.
Maybe some more award-winning podcasts.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Great job, guys. All right. So we're heading into the season here. We're going to go back talking about the Magnet briefly. Chef Dev, if a student is an 8th grader wants to get into the Culinary Magnet, what are the requirements as far as grades, behavior, and such?
We look for A's, B's. I'm not a super stickler on grades, but I do want A's and B's, at least when you're in junior high, just because you're learning, basics stuff in junior high, I feel. And I want to see that, when you're assigned something or told you need to do something, that you can do it. And then a lot of our interview process is a lot of personality stuff. I was always better off when I worked in the corporate game that you hire character and you train skill. So we do a lot of personality type questions that are kind of off. That doesn't seem like a personality question, but it has like small tells and stuff. I'm actually stealing one from Vo this year, where we're just going to take a kid to the middle of the school and say, hey, good, take me to B208, and just have them find it. Because I think that shows a little bit of problem solving, critical thinking, and it shows like not giving up because you don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Excellent. And so that was, I think, going to be my next question. I wanted to make sure that students knew and parents knew that when it comes to the interview, we're not going to ask them, how many cups are in a pint.
Sure.
And, name us 3 different types of salt. I mean, we're not going there.
Right,
you want to
right,
see
right,
if they can think. Do they have a personality? How do they answer and operate under pressure a little bit? Right?
Yeah, 100%. Because pressure is a big one.
Epsom table and C.
Right on. All right. Well, everybody, we're about out of time. Let's wrap it up. I want to thank Mr. Archilla, as always, for being here with us.
Thank you for listening.
And Chef Dev, I can't wait. We'll do this again with you soon.
Yeah.
Like, the time flew by. Like, I'm not going to lie. There are sometimes we do this and it's a little forced and we're trying to struggle, and the flow and just the 3 guys sitting here hanging out talking about this stuff has been great. Well, very good. Well, join us next time. We'll have us another great guest in here next time as we talk about all things Magnet. Just for everybody coming up, I hope you have a great holiday break. Dates coming up. January 16th, we will have Eagle Celebration here at Richardson High School, 7 p.m. in the auditorium. Students will have the opportunity to hear from us and then tour 2 different magnets if they want. Spend some time in there, get to know the teachers a little bit, and ask questions. Online application will open immediately following Eagle Celebration on the 16th of January. And applications, they're all online, and the link will be available on our website. And the application deadline is midnight, January 31st. And then we will make decisions, interviews in February. Decisions are mailed right before spring break around March 8th. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And as always, we'll see you down the road. Thank you for listening to the RHS Magnet Spotlight. For more information on our programs, please find us on the internet at www.rhsmagnet.org. You can also find us on Twitter at @RHS_Magnet.